Mr. Brown, he said slowly, I need to ask this plainly. Do you believe your sister-in-law could have done something to your wife? David swallowed hard. He remembered Vanessa's threats. Her eyes. Her words. Afraid I'll take something you can't keep? Her text. You'll regret ignoring me. He also remembered her suitcase rolling into his house. Her wearing Alicia's robe. Yes, David whispered. I think she could. Hayes nodded once. Okay, he said. Then we're going to find out. That evening, David came home quieter than usual. Vanessa was in the living room, watching a reality show, a blanket over her legs. She muted the TV when she saw his face. You look tired, she said softly. Rough day at work? He stared at her, really stared at her, like he was trying to see the truth under her skin. I was at the police station, he said. Her hand froze on the remote. Oh, why? About Alicia's accident, he replied. She tilted her head. I thought they already closed the case. Break failure, right? He held her gaze. They reopened it. Silence. Why? She asked carefully. Because the brake line was cut. David's voice was low, almost trembling with anger. Someone tampered with her car. Vanessa's eyes widened, and she gasped dramatically, hand to her chest. What? Oh my God, David, that's horrible. Who would do that? You tell me, he shot back. She blinked. What is that supposed to mean? You called her that night, he said, stepping closer. You told her your mother fainted. You said she was at the hospital. But she wasn't. She was at home. She didn't faint. She didn't go anywhere. Vanessa's face went pale. I was confused, she stammered. I didn't say she fainted. I said she didn't feel well. Don't lie to me, David shouted, his voice echoing in the room. Vanessa flinched. I heard her, he growled. You said she fainted. That's why Alicia rushed out. That's why she took the car. That's why she died. Tears filled Vanessa's eyes quickly. Are you saying I killed my sister? She whispered. David clenched his fists, breathing hard. I don't know what you did, he said. But the police are looking into it. They want Alicia's phone. They want our phone records. If you're involved, they'll find out. Vanessa shook her head slowly, her lips trembling. You think I'd hurt her? For what? For you. Her voice rose, laced with pain. Do you really think I'm that sick? David stared at her in silence. Vanessa wiped her tears roughly. I loved her, she said. She was my sister. We fought, yes, but... You hated her happiness, he cut in. You told her I didn't belong with her. You wanted my life, my house, me. She looked away, jaw tightening, and for a second her mask slipped. Then she stood up slowly. I see what this is, she said coldly. You're desperate. You lost your wife, and now you need someone to blame. I get it. David's voice lowered. Get out. She looked back at him sharply. What? I said get out of my house, he repeated. Take your things and leave. Her eyes flashed. You can't throw me out. Mom. I don't care what your mother said, he snapped. This is my house. You either leave tonight or the police escort you out when they come with more questions. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Grief against greed, suspicion against denial. Vanessa's face hardened. Fine, she hissed. I'll leave. But remember this, David. When a man pushes away the only person who truly cares about him, he always regrets it. She stormed into the guest room. David exhaled, feeling a strange mixture of fear and relief. He didn't know that while she packed, Vanessa grabbed not just her own things, but something of Alicia's too, a small black notebook and a flash drive she had found weeks ago. Because Vanessa had secrets of her own to hide. And some of them were already on the detective's radar. 2 days later, Detective Hayes called David again. "We need you to come in," he said. "We've found something." At the station, Hayes laid out several documents and photos. "We pulled your wife's phone records, your records, and Vanessa Carter's," he said. "We also checked nearby traffic and security cameras along the route your wife took that night." David's heart pounded. Hayes continued, "Your wife received multiple calls and texts from Vanessa that night, all about their mother supposedly being at the hospital. We also traced Vanessa's phone location." He slid a printed map across the table. "Vanessa's phone pinged near your house, and then near the parking lot where your wife's car was parked earlier that day," Hayes said. "About an hour before Alicia left." David gripped the edge of the table. "Are you saying Vanessa was at our house?" he asked. "Yes," Hayes replied. "Neighbors' doorbell cameras captured her car driving into your street and leaving again. She never came inside, at least not through the front door. But she was in the area." David's breath hitched. "The car was parked outside that afternoon," he said slowly. "Alicia came back from the grocery store." Hayes nodded. "We believe Vanessa tampered with the car sometime that evening." David felt a mix of rage and nausea. "It gets worse," Hayes said quietly. "We obtained a warrant to search Vanessa's apartment." He pulled out photos from the search. "In her trash, we found a torn-up printed email from your insurance company," he explained. "Turns out, a month before your wife died, a life insurance policy was purchased in Alicia's name. A large one. And the beneficiary is you." David looked confused. "Me? I didn't sign any policy." "We checked," Hayes said. "The application was done online. Your wife's email was used. But the IP address belongs to Vanessa's apartment building. We believe she created the policy, banking on the fact that as the grieving widower, you wouldn't question a payout you didn't even know about." David stared in horror. "So she wanted Alicia dead. And she wanted me rich and broken. Dependent. Vulnerable. Rich and alone," Hayes said. "Which made you easier to claim." David swallowed hard. "There's one more thing," Hayes added. During her interrogation, Vanessa slipped. David's eyes widened. "You've already spoken to her?" Hayes nodded. "She came in voluntarily. Acted shocked, cried, said she was being attacked unfairly. But when I asked why she called Alicia that night, she said something interesting." He opened his notebook and read. "She said, 'I just told her what I needed to say to get her out of that house. I didn't know it would go that far.'" David froze. "She admitted she lied," he whispered. "Not directly," Hayes replied. "But she implied she manipulated your wife into leaving. She also said, if the brakes hadn't failed, she'd still be alive and he wouldn't be looking at me this way. She didn't ask how the brakes failed. She already knew." David's chest burned. "Can you arrest her?" he asked. "We're building the case," Hayes said. "We almost have enough. But we need one more piece. Someone who can place her physically at the car with tools. Or someone she spoke to." He paused. "We're looking into one of her ex-boyfriends. A mechanic. We found message fragments between them. If he talks, we can move fast." David's eyes darkened. "And if he doesn't?" Hayes's jaw tightened. "Then we keep digging." That night, Vanessa showed up at David's house again. This time, she didn't have a suitcase. She had a look of wild determination in her eyes. David opened the door halfway and blocked the entrance. "What do you want?" "We need to talk," she said. "We already talked," he replied coldly. "The police spoke to you too, right?" She flinched. "You told them lies," she spat. "You made me look like a monster." "I didn't make you anything," David said. "I just told them the truth. They found the rest on their own." Her eyes narrowed. "So now you believe I killed my own sister?" He stared at her, his voice low and raw. "I don't believe it anymore. I know it." She laughed, a broken, bitter sound. "You know nothing," she snapped. You think they will listen to you? You think the world will believe you? You're a grieving husband. You barely remember what you ate yesterday. He stepped closer, fury scorching his veins. They have proof, he said. Phone records. Location data. That fake insurance policy you set up. You're not as smart as you think. She swallowed, eyes flickering with panic for the first time. Then she dropped her voice dangerously. You want to know why I did it? She whispered. David's heart slammed against his ribs. He shouldn't have wanted to hear it. But he did. Why? He forced out. Because she didn't deserve you, Vanessa said, her eyes shining with twisted devotion. You think Alicia was perfect? She wasn't. She complained about you all the time. She told me you were boring, predictable, too safe. She said she married you because you were stable, not because she was in love. That's a lie, David growled. She laughed about you behind your back, Vanessa continued. She told me she wished she'd married a real man, a man who took risks. I watched you give her your whole heart while she trashed you to me. I couldn't stand it. Tears streamed down Vanessa's face, but they were laced with madness, not grief. So you, what? David whispered. Decided she didn't deserve to live? I decided you didn't deserve to be stuck with someone who didn't value you, she said. I would have treated you like a king. I would have built you up. I would have given you children who adored you. I would have been grateful. David stared at her, horrified. You murdered her, he said. Not for me. Not for love. For yourself. She shook her head wildly. I didn't kill her, she hissed. I just opened a door. I cut a line. I made a call. The world did the rest. David felt sick. You're going to prison, he said. For a long time. Not if you help me, she blurted out suddenly. He blinked. What? If you tell them you were mistaken, she said, words tumbling out. If you say you misunderstood. If you say Alicia was depressed. If you say she was drinking that night. She wasn't, David snapped. She was sober. You can lie, Vanessa insisted desperately. If you tell them it was an accident, if you protect me, I'll protect you. He frowned. Protect me from what? A slow, cold smile spread across her face. You think they haven't looked at you too? She asked quietly. You're the husband. The beneficiary. The one who argued with her before she left. The one who didn't stop her from going out. David's heart thudded. Don't be stupid, he said. The detective knows I loved her. Love doesn't matter in court, Vanessa said. They need someone to blame. And if it's easier to pin it on you, they will. But if we stick together. He stepped back from the door, disgusted. We? He repeated. There is no we. There never was. She saw it then, really saw it, that she had lost him forever. Something inside her snapped. Her face twisted with rage. If I can't have you, she whispered, no one will. She reached into her bag. David saw the glint of metal, a small handgun. His blood turned to ice. Vanessa, don't. She raised it, pointing it at his chest, hands shaking. You were supposed to see me, she cried. You were supposed to realize I'm the one who truly loves you. Why couldn't you just love me back? Put the gun down, David said calmly, hands raised. The neighbors can see. You'll only make it worse. I already lost everything, she whispered. My sister. My mother's respect. Now you. What's left? Your life, he said. You still have your life. Do I? She murmured. He watched her finger tighten on the trigger. Vanessa. A sudden shout cut through the air. Police. Drop the weapon. Red and blue lights flashed outside. Detective Hayes and 2 officers were already in the yard, guns drawn. A neighbor had seen Vanessa show up, heard shouting, and called 911. Vanessa froze, eyes wide. "Drop it now," Hayes barked. She looked at David one last time, with a mixture of love, hate, and regret, then slowly lowered the gun and let it fall. She sank to her knees on the porch, hands raised. As the officers cuffed her, she screamed through tears, "I did it for you, David. I did everything for you." He turned away, broken. Because no matter what she claimed, the truth was simple. She did it for herself. The courtroom was cold. David sat in the gallery, hands folded, eyes fixed on the woman at the defense table, the woman who used to walk into his house like she belonged there. Now Vanessa wore an orange jumpsuit and shackles around her ankles. Her lawyer stood beside her, shuffling papers. The prosecutor, a sharp black woman named Attorney Fields, addressed the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "this case is about greed. It is about obsession. It is about a woman who could not accept her sister's happiness and chose to destroy it with her own hands." David listened as they laid out the evidence. The cut-break line, the phone records, the fake insurance policy, the location data. The ex-boyfriend mechanic, who finally confessed that Vanessa asked him how to damage brakes without making it obvious, and later bragged she wouldn't have to compete with her sister much longer. The jury heard audio from Vanessa's interrogation, her voice saying, "I just told her what I needed to say to get her out of that house." Her voice saying, if the brakes hadn't failed, she'd still be alive. Her slip, her confession without using the exact words. Vanessa's lawyer tried to spin it. She never intended to kill her sister, he argued. She was emotional. She lied about their mother to force a conversation. She may be guilty of deception, but not murder. But the prosecutor countered. This was not a childish lie, Attorney Fields said. This was a premeditated act. She cut the brakes. She lured her sister out of the house with a fake emergency. She knew Alicia would drive. She knew what would happen. Finally, David was called to the stand. He walked up slowly, took the oath, and sat down. "Mr. Brown," the prosecutor said gently, "can you describe your relationship with your wife?" "She was my best friend," he said, voice shaking. "My partner. I loved her more than anything." "And your relationship with the defendant, Vanessa Carter?" He swallowed. "I never trusted her," he said. "She was jealous. She made comments about my marriage. She sent me messages saying I belonged with her, not Alicia. I blocked her." "Did your wife ever express fear or concern about Vanessa?" the prosecutor asked. "Yes," David replied. "She told me, 3 weeks before she died, that she felt Vanessa was planning something. She said Vanessa wanted her life, her home, and me." "How did you respond?" "I told her no one could replace her," David said, tears in his eyes. "I was wrong." The defense lawyer tried to discredit him, arguing that grief had distorted his memory, that his animosity toward Vanessa colored his judgment. But the facts were louder than opinions. After closing arguments, the jury left to deliberate. David sat outside the courtroom, hands shaking, staring at the floor. Detective Hayes sat beside him. "You did good in there," Hayes said quietly. "It doesn't bring her back," David whispered. "No," Hayes replied. "But it keeps the person who took her from hurting anyone else." Hours later, the jury returned. Everyone stood. The foreperson handed the paper to the judge. "In the case of the state versus Vanessa Carter," the judge read, "on the charge of first-degree murder of Alicia Brown, we find the defendant." The room went silent. "Guilty." Vanessa's knees buckled. She let out a howl, not of regret, but of rage. "This isn't fair," she screamed. "He loved me. He should have been mine. She never deserved him." The judge banged the gavel. "Order in the court." Vanessa turned her eyes on David, wild and burning. "This is your fault," she shouted as officers pulled her away. "You chose her over me. You always chose her." David stared back, sorrow in his eyes, but no pity. "I never chose you," he said softly. "Not once." The judge sentenced her to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Just like that, Vanessa's future ended where Alicia's had, with a single, irreversible decision. Months passed. The world moved on, as it always does. People stopped calling every day. The flowers dried up. The casseroles stopped coming. The whispers faded. But grief lingered in David's house like a quiet shadow. He kept Alicia's pictures on the walls. He kept her clothes for a long time, unable to pack them away. He sometimes woke up in the middle of the night, reaching for her, only to touch cold sheets. One Sunday afternoon, he drove to the cemetery with a bouquet of white lilies, her favorite. He stood over her grave, reading the headstone for the 100th time. Alicia Brown, beloved wife, daughter, sister. Taken too soon. Loved forever. He knelt down and placed the flowers carefully. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't stop you that night. I'm sorry I didn't force you to stay. I'm sorry I didn't see Vanessa for what she truly was sooner." The wind blew softly through the trees. He closed his eyes. "I testified," he said quietly. "I told them what happened. She's in prison now. She can't hurt anyone else. But it still doesn't feel like enough." He took a deep breath. "I met with your mother last week," he continued. "She's struggling, but she's trying. She misses you every second. We talked about you for hours. She asked me to move on someday, to find joy again. She said you'd want that." His voice cracked. "I don't know if I can," he admitted. "Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. But I'll try. For you." He stayed there in silence, letting the tears fall freely. After a while, he stood up and wiped his face. As he turned to leave, he paused. "I want you to know something," he said softly. "No matter what Vanessa said, you never had to be perfect. You never had to be anyone but yourself. I loved you. The real you. The way you snorted when you laughed too hard. The way you sang off-key. The way you cared for everyone, even people who didn't deserve it." He looked at her name one last time. "You were enough," he whispered. "You were always enough." When David walked back to his car, he felt something different. The grief was still there. But it was quieter. Less like a storm. More like a scar. He didn't forgive Vanessa. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But he chose not to let her greed define the rest of his life. He chose to remember Alicia as she truly was, not as a victim, but as a woman who loved deeply and lived honestly. And he made himself a promise. He would never again ignore the quiet warnings in his spirit. He would never again allow manipulation to wear the mask of love. And he would never let greed walk into his house disguised as family. Because he had seen what obsession could do. He had watched greed become murder. And even though justice was served in a cold courtroom far from the night of squealing tires and twisted metal, he understood something clearly now. Sometimes, the most dangerous people in your life are not strangers in dark alleys. They are the ones sitting at your table, smiling across from you, waiting for a chance to take what you have, even if it means spilling blood.